In this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive on the brand new DDJ-FLX2 controller from AlphaTheta. I'm going to be showing you every single aspect of this device and show you how you can get the most out of this DJ controller. I get DMs all the time asking me which DJ controller should I buy, and the answer is always different. It depends on your budget and it depends on what you want and need out of your DJ equipment. So the point of this video is to help you decide if this is the right controller for you. My name is Blakey and I'm a former DMC champion. I've worked for Serato, I've worked for Pioneer, I did all of the scratching for 2 Spider-Man Hollywood movies, and I worked on 2 video games, DJ Hero 1 and DJ Hero 2. If you find this video useful, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Let's get straight into it. The DDJ-FLX2 is a new budget DJ controller from AlphaTheta, and in the lineup of the Flex controllers, it sits just below the DDJ-FLX4. Now, it does have quite a lot of features that the DDJ-FLX4 also has, but it is missing a couple of things that that controller does have, such as loop buttons and beat effects. Now, you can still control loops and effects from the DDJ-FLX2, but it just works slightly differently. The DDJ-FLX2 works with Rekordbox, Serato, and Algorithm DJ, plus you can use it with a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. This will open up the doors for so many more people to use their DJ controller because you can use it even if you don't have a laptop. Let's take a look at the features on this controller, starting off with the deck section right here. So you've got your jog wheel right here, which is a decent size. You can still use this for everything that you're going to need a jog wheel for, whether that's mixing by pushing the jog wheel forward or back like this to line up the beats, or for scratching. I'm actually going to do a short demo of scratching on this controller later in this video, so stay tuned for that. And then underneath the jog wheel, you've got your shift button and your beat sync button. Now, the shift button can be used to access features that can only be accessed if you hold down shift. So for example, if you look underneath the beat sync button right here, it says pad mode. That means if you hold down shift and press the beat sync button, you're now into the different pad modes, which we'll get into in a moment. Just below the shift button, you've got your Q button and your play button. It's great to see the Q button here because it's a very popular part of all DJ equipment now because of people like James Hype and DJ EZ. And then you've obviously got your play and pause button right here. Just to the right of there, you've got your 8 performance pads, and you can also choose between 4 different pad modes. To do that, hold down shift and press beat sync, and this is where you choose either hot cue, pad effects, loops, or sampler. So if you were to press this one, you've now chosen the pad effects pad mode, and now all 8 of these buttons will control pad effects inside Rekordbox. If you hold shift and press beat sync, you can then choose loop, and now your 8 performance pads will control loops inside your DJ software. And then if we hold down shift and press beat sync and then press sampler, you've now got access to 8 sampler pads, which will control samples that you've loaded inside your DJ software. And then just to the right of there, you've got a really nice long wide pitch fader. It allows you to do those long blends a lot easier. The beat sync button allows you to enable sync in your DJ software so that you can sync up the BPMs and even the beat grids of your songs. So rather than mixing manually and push in and pull in the jog wheel to line up the beats, the beat sync button will do that for you. Now, this is a very useful feature for beginner DJs. However, when I'm teaching somebody to DJ, I do encourage them to try and learn to mix manually because this is going to help you in your career moving forward. Even if you are to glance at the software and move the pitch slider to get the BPMs the same, it really does help you and your learning when learning to be a DJ to know how to slow down the song or speed up the song that you're mixing in to line up the beats manually. So if you do start using the Flex 2 as a beginner, by all means use the beat sync button, but do spend some time learning how to nudge the song backwards and forwards to line up the beats, because this is going to help you so much in your career. Moving over to the mixer section of the DDJ-FLX2, you've got your crossfader right here. And the way the crossfader works is when the crossfader is all the way to this side, only this song is playing. And if you move it over to this side, only this song is playing. If you have it in the middle, both songs will be playing, and you can actually change the settings of the crossfader so that the crossfader will either cut in immediately So if the crossfader's over here, it's only playing this song, but if you change it to a sharp cut, by putting the crossfader just slightly over like that, this song will also be playing. But you can also change the setting so that it's a gradual fade from this song into this song. There's no right or wrong here, it just depends on your own style of DJing. I like to scratch, so I have mine with a sharp crossfader cut. You can change this by going to settings and then go into controller and mixer. And then down here, you've got your crossfader curve. So I have mine all the way to the right, which is a very sharp cut in. But if you want it to be a smooth blend between the two tracks, you can just change it all the way to the left here. You can leave it in the middle for a kind of cross between the two, but I'm going to put it back to a sharp cut in for now so that I can scratch on this controller. You've also got your two volume faders here. These are pretty self-explanatory. This volume fader controls the volume of this deck, and this volume fader controls the volume of this deck. Just above the crossfader, here you've got smart fader. Now smart fader will automatically mix from this song into this song, and all you need to do is move the crossfader over to the other deck. It uses some trickery in the software where it will sync the two songs, and then even if they're different BPMs, the crossfader, by moving it, the software will actually increase or decrease the BPM depending on whether the other song is slower or faster. And it will also apply some EQ and effects to create a smooth blend. Now, this is a cool feature, especially if you're a beginner DJ. This can be fun to use. However, if you do want to take DJing seriously at all, this is not a tool that you will use at a gig, to be honest with you. It's just a fun way of using this controller for the first time. If you do plan on actually learning to DJ and DJing out at events and parties, you're going to need to learn how to mix without that smart fader, but it is a fun addition to this controller. At the top of the mixer section here, you've got two filter knobs, which I will show you more about in a moment, and you've got a 3-band EQ on each deck. So this one controls the low or the bass. This one controls the mids, which are the snares and the vocals and the mid-range frequencies. And then this one here controls the high frequencies. So this will be your hi-hats and your very top-end bright sounds. So let's take a quick listen to what the filter sounds like on a song using the DDJ-FLX2. So if you were to turn this filter dial to the left, that is what is called a low-pass filter. Now, a low-pass filter gradually cuts off all of the high frequencies. So when the filter is in the middle, that is what is called flat. That means that there is no filter being applied. But as soon as you start turning the filter to the left, it will apply a low pass filter and cut out all of the high end frequencies. So as I turn the knob, you can hear all of the hi-hats disappearing, and also the high frequencies of the other instruments like the kick and the snare. And then back to the middle. And then if I was to turn the filter to the right, that is what is called a high pass filter. And a high pass filter gradually cuts out all of the lower frequency sounds, like this. So you can hear the bass has gone already, and you can turn it all the way round. So it's only getting the very, very top end high bright frequencies coming through. And then if we turn it back to the middle, that's back to flat and no filter is being applied. Let's take a listen to the EQs as well. So let's play that drum beat and we'll start turning off the low frequency. So that's with the bass frequency or the low frequency completely cut off. So there's no bassy, boomy, low end sounds coming through. That's back to flat. So there's no EQ being applied. Now let's turn down the mid frequency. So now you can only hear the bass or the low frequencies and the treble or the high frequencies. Now let's take a listen to the high EQ. So let's play this drum beat. So as I gradually turn down the high, you can hear all of the high and treble frequencies being cut off. And if we turn it back up to the middle and it's back to flat, it's a good rule of thumb to try not to go above 12 o'clock with any of these EQs. And the reason for that is the people who produce the music that you're going to be playing, they've already set their EQs to be at the maximum that they can be before the song starts to degrade in sound quality. So if you were to turn these above 12 o'clock, you could end up making the song sound worse, and you could also put unnecessary strain on the sound system that you're playing on. But you can, by all means, cut these frequencies, no problem. The DDJ-FLX2 also has a very cool and unique feature to Rekordbox called Smart CFX. And you can turn these on by holding Shift and pressing Master. So you can see where it says Smart CFX just under Master. That means if you hold Shift and press Master, you will activate Smart CFX. Now, Smart CFX are enabled with the filter knobs. So you can turn them left to turn on Smart CFX, and you can turn them to the right. And the Smart CFX will do something different depending on if you're moving it left or right, and we'll get into that in a moment. You can also hold down Shift and press this 1 or 2 button, and this will scroll through your Smart CFX, as you can see on the screen in Rekordbox. So let's choose Phantom Echo. And now if I play this song and then move the filter knob right here, you will hear the Smart CFX Phantom Echo being applied. Let's take a listen. And you can turn the volume down and the Smart CFX will continue playing. Let's listen to that again. So you can hear the echo being applied. And if you put it back to the middle, that turns off the Smart CFX. Let's also turn the filter knob to the right and see what that sounds like. So what's happening there is when I turn the filter to the left, it's applying the phantom echo, which sounds like an echo and a filter. But when I turn it to the left, it's applying a low pass filter, which makes sense. And if I turn it to the right, it's applying a high pass filter. So each one of these Smart CFX will actually do something different depending on whether you turn the filter to the left or the right. Let's take a listen to another Smart CFX. This one's called Reflect Echo. And let's turn it to the right and see what that sounds like. So that sounds pretty cool. That is a combination of a few different effects there. That sounds to me like a reverse effect. So it's not only echoing the sound, but it's also reversing it at the same time. And it also sounds like there's a little bit of filter in there as well, and maybe some other things too. Let's check out a different one. So let's go to Noise Chopper. This is actually one of my favorites. So what's happening there is as you turn the filter knob, it's applying a noise which has got a transform effect put on top of it. And what a transform effect does is it turns the noise on and off very quickly. It also applies a trans effect to the song that you're playing. So actually, if I just turn this knob without the song playing, you'll hear the transformer noise coming through. So not only is the noise playing with a transform effect on it, it also has a low pass filter applied to the sound as I turn the knob. If I turn it to the right, it will have a different effect. Let's take a listen. So that has a slightly different transformer effect, and it's also slower. Let's take another listen to the Noise Chopper Smart CFX with the song playing. There are 8 of these Smart CFX, but let's take a listen to one more. So we'll hold down Shift and press one of the headphone cue buttons. Let's try Vaporize. Let's take a listen. So that effect sounds like it's applying some reverb, but also a kind of space effect as well. Space is one of the color effects that can be found on the club standard Pioneer DJM 900, 900 Nexus and A9. And I think they've put that sound into the vaporized Smart C effects there. If you do get your hands on a DDJ-FLX2, do spend some time trying out all of the different Smart C effects, because it's actually one of the great features about controllers with Rekordbox. All of them have their uses and they all sound really good. Now, given that these jog wheels are really small, let's see if you can actually scratch on the DDJ-FLX2. So I have spent a little bit of time practicing with this controller, but to be honest, I've already scratched quite a lot on the DDJ-FLX4. So scratching on the DDJ-FLX2 actually didn't take me long at all to acclimatize to. But that shows you that it is entirely possible to scratch proficiently on a budget controller like this. Now let's take a look at the different pad modes on the DDJ-FLX2. So if I hold down Shift and press the beat sync button, you can see right now that hot cue is currently selected. That's why it's flashing. But let's choose pad effects. So now these 8 pads here on this deck control the pad effects inside Rekordbox. And you can actually see that the deck inside Rekordbox, the view has changed to the pad effects. So you can see right here, you've got roll, sweep, flanger, vinyl break, quarter echo, half echo, reverb, and 3/4 echo. Now, one of the great things about Rekordbox is you can completely customize the pad effects to your liking. You can change which effect each pad controls, and you can even change the beat value for all of the different pad modes. And that is a really great thing about Rekordbox, because you've got all of that customizability to make it exactly how you want it. But for this example, I'm going to leave them exactly as they are by default. So let's play this song and let's play around with the different pad effects. So first of all, this pad right here controls a quarter roll. Let's take a listen. So what this is doing is it's applying a roll effect every time I press down the button on that drum beat. And then when I let go of the pad, it will actually continue playing the song where it would have been had I not pressed the button. So this is great for creating those staggered and kind of glitchy, choppy effects. Let's take another listen. Next up on this pad, we've got sweep. Now what this does is it applies a filter to the track. Let's take a listen. I think that sounds really nice. So that's applying a kind of low pass, but also high pass filter. It's actually called a band pass filter, where it applies a bit of high pass and a bit of low pass. So only a specific section of the frequency range is coming through. And I think sweep sounds really good. You can go into the settings and change it so that the filter is slightly different, but actually I've played around with the sweep settings and that one actually sounds the best. Next up is flanger on this pad right here. Let's take a listen. Now, flanger is one of those effects that can sound good, but it can also be quite overbearing and can be a bit too much. So be careful if you're going to start using flanger, but flanger can sound good if you get the settings right and you don't use it too much. This pad right here is vinyl break. And what this will do is it will apply a kind of turntable stop effect whenever you press the pad. Sounds really good on snares. Vinyl break is really cool on its own, but it's actually best used, in my opinion, when you combine it with roll. Take a listen to this. So what I'm doing there is I'm applying a roll effect to the hi-hat, and then when I let go of the roll effect button, I then press the vinyl break on the snare. Let's take another listen. So what I'm doing there is I'm applying a roll effect to the hi-hat, and then when I let go of the roll effect button, I then press the vinyl break on the snare. Next up, we've got 1/4 echo, which is on this pad right here. Let's take a listen. You can also turn the volume down and the echo still plays, which is very cool. It means you can do things like this. What I'm doing there is I'm chopping in the snare, and then as I bring down the volume fader, the echo still plays. Let's take another listen. So now I'm chopping in the kick and the snare. On this pad, we've got half echo. Let's take a listen. You can actually change the beat value of the echo, and you can even adjust the high pass filter, which is always a good idea with echo, to just roll off the low frequencies a touch. On this pad, we've got reverb, which is set to 50%, which is definitely the best value to have reverb set to. I've tried different values. 25 is too low, 75 or 100 is too high, 50 is just right. Let's take a listen. And finally, on this pad right here, we've got it set to 3/4 echo, but this is a release effect. So that means when I hold down this pad, it will apply the effect regardless of whether or not the volume fader is up. So as you can hear, that is applying the echo, but it's also stopping the song from playing. So even if I've got the volume fader turned up, the song won't be coming through anymore once I hold down this pad. And that's because it's called a release effect, and it works slightly differently to all of the other pad effects. Let's take one more listen. So as you can hear, as I hold down that pad, it applies the echo, but you won't hear the song coming through anymore. Now let's take a look at the smart fader feature on the DDJ-FLX2, which is this button right here just above the crossfader. Now I've got a song loaded into this deck, which is 122 BPM, and I've got a song loaded into this deck, which is 132 BPM. So that's a 10 BPM difference. This is the song that I'm going to start with, so therefore the crossfader is over to this side. And if I press Smart Fader, you can see that the tempo of this song inside the rekordbox software has changed to 122 to match the tempo of this song. Now, if I start playing them at the same time, I'm going to then gradually move the crossfader over to this side, and you will see and hear that the BPM will increase to 132, which is the tempo of this song, but also rekordbox will apply some filter and some echo and some effects to make the transition seamless. Let's take a listen. So you can see the BPM slowly increasing. So you can hear it getting faster. And once the fader's over, now we're on 132. So by using Smart Fader, you can seamlessly and very easily mix between two songs. And as I said before, this is a really fun feature, especially if you're a beginner DJ. But if you're going to take DJing seriously, do not rely on this feature. Just use it as a bit of fun. When it comes to connections on the DDJ-FLX2, you have a mini jack for the master out, and you also have the master volume right next to the mini jack connector. And you've also got a mini jack connector for your headphones. And again, the volume for the headphones is right next to the mini jack headphone connector. On the back of the unit, it connects with USB-C, and this is how you would connect to your laptop, tablet, or smartphone. These connections are not unusual for a budget device, and it does make sense for a controller that is in this price bracket. So if you're expecting XLRs on a unit that costs this much, you're not going to find them here, and I think that's fine considering that this is a budget controller that is very cheap. So there is my take on the brand new DDJ-FLX2 from AlphaTheta. Again, this is a budget controller, but I think the build quality and the number of features that are packed into this controller do make this a very interesting and very good proposition for any DJ, not just beginners, but a backup device for pro DJs out there doing clubs and weddings and corporate events. This could still be a very useful device. It's super lightweight, it's very small. This would fit in any backpack, and in a pinch, if you're a pro DJ and something goes wrong with the equipment at your gig, this is perfectly usable in that scenario. Let me know down in the comments if you're thinking of picking up one of these, or if you've already got your hands on one, let me know in the comments what you think of the Flex 2. If you would like to also get your hands on a free scratch tool, the same scratch tool that I used earlier in this video for my scratching demo, then all you need to do is click on the link down in the description to get your hands on that scratch tool. My name's Blakey, thank you for watching. If you did find this video useful, leave me a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. See you on the next one.